We're back and it's time to save your Football Manager saves again, but this time I called in help. Tom's here. And we're each gonna have 2 minutes to try and save your saves, and whoever you think did the better job, you can let us know in the comments. But hopefully it's all helpful. I have to go first.
Oh, right. Well, see you later then.
Thought he'd never leave, you know. The first save I get a crack at first, Raidu with Cardiff City. I feel like I've got a pretty decent squad with quite a few wonder kids, and I've won a couple of the minor domestic and European Cups, oh boy. But I can't seem to break into the upper echelon of the top 4 in the league and Champions League winning clubs. I've outscored everyone in the league for the past couple seasons, but my defense is streaky. After a rough start to the season, I'm starting to grasp at straws and I'm thinking of binning my entire tactic for something else. Maybe 3 at the back. Help me, Z. Well, specifically asked for my help, so clearly we're going to be more helpful than Tom. So let's start my 2-minute timer. Bye. Oh, wasting time. Okay. Tactic. So it's a 4-2-3-1, and I can already tell why your defense probably is not that good. I mean, let's look at this season. So you're what, 9 matches played? How many goals allowed? 17! You've allowed the most goals of anybody this entire season. I'm gonna go into the data hub. I have 90 seconds left, so I'm gonna have to come up with something here. Team, performance, team, defending. I like how you have that flagged. Fewer blocks and clearances. No, lots of blocks, fewer clearances. Okay. Anything else? Defense. I can't type. Pressure's getting to me. Team defending, defensive efficiency. Actually, I have a busy defense and a leaky defense. So opponent conversion rate, shots faced per game. So your opponents are actually converting at a very high rate. This leads me to believe that you're giving up a few very obvious chances per game, which are obviously contributing to serious problems for you. I think a huge issue is this combo right here. I think if you're going 4-2-3-1 and you're going 2 central midfielders, you cannot be this aggressive. Like, you simply cannot be this aggressive. Center mid on attack will, if you maintain possession for more than 10-15 seconds, basically get all the way up against the back line. And that means if you turn the ball over, they're gone. They're out of the play. This advanced playmaker up here is likely out of the play too. Your 2 inside forwards are going to get dragged into the middle. The fullback in attack is going to go all the way towards the end line. You just don't have a very good rest defense. You probably have 3.5 guys normally if you turn the ball over that are going to be able to play any defense at all. My number 1 recommendation, which fortunately at least one of these guys can play, is to go with a 4-2-3-1 back there. That is like no time at all. This is going to be very difficult. Hopefully you understood where I was going with that. I keep track of the time.
Right, the time is ready. Let's get this started. So currently they're playing a 4-2-3-1, which is a very solid style to play in Football Manager. However, I've looked at a few of these players and I think things could be tweaked around a little bit. Personally, I'm not a big fan of wingers in Football Manager. I've had a lot of success without it. So I'm going to get rid of these wingers immediately. Now this guy on the left wing here is essentially a striker. He's got 19 finishing, 18 composure, fantastic pace. I feel like he's a little bit wasted out on the wing. I'm going to put him up front alongside the other striker here. So move you over a little bit, pop you in there. And I'm going to go for advanced forward on attack. Hosu in behind him is a good deep line playmaker and advanced playmaker. More natural in that AMC position, right? So he's pretty decent as a playmaker across the pitch. And you want him sort of dictating play, but I would have him a little bit further back. I'd have him in the middle of a 3 there. You've got your ball playing defender here who is solid. He looks really, really good. I love the mental attributes, especially. Marking tackling is also really, really solid. And these physicals are so good. So I think he'd be really good, but I'm going to play him a little bit deeper. I think if he drops in here, we'll play him as a halfback instead. I think that's a much better position for him to be sort of marshalling that back line a little bit. So that leaves a bit of a space here on this right-hand side. So what we need to do is change it to a centre mid. Now, I liked having 2 centre mids on attack. So I think having another centre mid on attack on this right-hand side, which this guy is actually pretty well suited to do, that's going to provide some width down the inner channels a little bit. Toss you in there. Probably more of a deep line playmaker, I would say. Put him on support, and then we'll get you guys as wing backs instead. So these provide the proper width, essentially. Wing backs on attack. Essentially, the CDM is going to drop in to be almost a 3rd centre-back. So you've always kind of got 3 at the back. Now, he said he wanted a 3 at the back system, which we've not gone for a traditional one, but the half-back does just drop back to be in that centre of the two centre-backs. These guys are going to get further forward, put across it into the middle. These guys are fairly tall as well. Z's skin is completely different to mine, so I have no idea where the height is. I looked at it earlier, and it has gone. Wow. That time went quick. Okay, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going a little bit over the 2.
Next! Matt CLLR, who is managing Arca.
Hi, Z. Tom, I'm a nice chunk of a season in with Arca in Poland.
I won the league a few seasons ago, but last season and so far this season, the results were less than good, both domestically
And in the continental competitions.
I believe I have the squad depth to compete, but not the talent to dominate, and I believe it's because of these reasons.
Good young players aren't coming through the academy as they once did.
I'm struggling to get the goals I used to get from Mateusz Lewandowski, second cousin, I think.
Bad transfers and use of budget.
I seem to only get good wonder kids for one season, like Henningsen and Herrera in the transfer history.
And I need to find more players of that caliber.
Also could use some help if the tactics are a bit whack. Well, I don't think I'll have time to get there, but we've loaded up the save, and now I'm about to have 2 minutes to do whatever I can with it. Let's go. Yes, Henningsen and Herrera. So sold for 6.5 million. That's not a terrible sale. Sold for, oh goodness, I'm choking. I gotta go back here. Oh no.
So this feels a little bit more about the club as a whole as opposed to the actual squad and tactics for me. I've looked through the staff and I'll be honest, I think that's where the problem could lie in a lot of this. We'll go over the first point where he says that he's not getting good enough players coming through his academy. The facilities are actually pretty good, especially for Poland as well. You got good utilities. They could be upgraded a little bit to be fair, but excellent academy coaching and excellent youth recruitment is solid. The head of youth development though is not solid. He's got 11 working with youngsters and only 16 judging player ability and potential, which isn't awful, but it could be a lot better. The most criminal thing about this guy though is if we go to his information, his personality is only balanced. You're going to want someone a lot better than this. You're going to want someone who's got a model citizen personality, ideally model professional, something along those lines. Just much better than balance is what you're going to need.
Let's look at the way you're building your squad. You do have a good collection of wonder kids. Guy like Gustavo Torres definitely has got the ability. You should, and what you need to do is focus on actually winning the Polish league every year, right? You're a good way into this save. You've done a nice job getting your team up into the top division and then obviously up around the top division. Normally I have so much more time to think about this. How much time do I have? Oh good, 43 seconds. I've said absolutely nothing helpful.
I've also highlighted the scouts you've got right now, and I don't think they're really good enough, particularly the chief scout, who's only got 10 judging player ability and 11 potential. These guys are the guys getting the reports for you. And if they tell you a player's 5-star potential and they get to the club and they're actually 3-star potential, then that's where your problem's going to lie a lot of the time with these guys. They're not giving you reliable information, and that's why you're making bad transfer. As for the tactics, I do quite like them, but once again, I'm not really a fan of wingers in this game. So I think that might be the thing you want to change, but I think I'm about to run out of time on this tactic, which is... There we go. We've run out of time. So hopefully the scouting information was enough to try and change things around and help your player recruitment. Because I think you're on a solid run here.
I mean, your team construction is actually pretty good. You just need to understand you're not going to be able to sell guys for that amount of money. The important thing is as you bring in this balance, you need to continue to improve your facilities. Okay, your facilities are on great and good. You need to continue to improve those facilities, and you need to continue to manually scout because recruitment focuses aren't as easy, although you've parsed up a lot of them. This is good. 14 seconds. Right, so I think you might be overreacting to this. Your whole goal before you even focus on Europe is to dominate the Polish league. Keep building your team like this and expanding your facilities and scouting. Hey, at least I got it in before the time that time. Next!
We've got Kazusk, who's playing with SKF Sered in Slovakia. Hey, Zealand. Again, Tom just got unexpectedly promoted to the first division in Slovakia. Team performed way above the XG table, but gained actual promotion, lol.
Now 2 teams in, I'm getting whipped by mid-table teams. My preseason odds were 1,001. I have little money in the wage to sign new players.
I've looked for low, but I'm having a hard time finding players who can move the needle for me due to player willingness.
So mainly looking for scouting transfer advice.
Tactic could also probably use some work, but Tactic 1 carried me through the second division.
Thanks, and up the Z-Cogs. All right, showtime. I've got 2 minutes, starting now. So you got promoted. It was you've only played 2 games. This feels like an inherent overreaction, right? You played 2 teams, you lost 3-1 both times, but it's the freaking squad comparisons you used to be able to get. You remember those?
So my first advice would be to just get tons of players in on trial, and you've already done that, as you can see. There is a bunch of players in on trial. Obviously, if they can't sign for the club, then you're a bit stuck with that, but there are some decent players available on a free, and this is such a great way to get players in. However, I wouldn't go about signing as many players as possible just to make up the numbers of better players, because look at Nottingham Forest this season in real life. Brought in a whole new team, it's not gone very well.
So Tactic 1 got you through the first division. This is definitely a good tactic. This is one that the game uses a lot. I think you might want to put one of these two guys on defend, especially if both of your wingbacks are not on defend either. That's going to help you be a little more solid defensively. And you shouldn't be too afraid of raising the line a little bit, because I can't imagine that you're going up against pace that is too overwhelming here. But this guy sucks. This center back is actually awful. He's such a liability when it comes to being able to intelligently do anything, and he's so slow and he hates big matches. That guy is a major problem that you're probably going to need to replace.
I've looked through the recruitment focuses and they look fine to me. Your scouts are out there doing a great job. But again, if possible, I'd be looking to get some much better scouts than what is available to you right now.
Now, player willingness when it comes to loans is definitely a problem. Your scouting at this point, when you're working, your balance is $61,000, your payroll is $633,000. You should be looking basically exclusive for free players. And it looks like you've got one of those queued up. So what's this? 2.5 further details expiring in 3 months. That's a little limited. Expiring in the next 3 months might have just been because we're on July 31st. So this was recent. You need to be all over free players. Free players are how you're going to build your team, right? You're not signing anybody. And if nobody wants to join you on loan, although there are players that always want to join you on loan. Deadline day in particular, which you haven't gotten to yet. When you get to deadline day, that's when free loans become available. So you need to work on scouting and building up a short list so that when you get to deadline day, you can go to that short list and hopefully secure some signatures. I did not go that far over time. Oh, it's freaking stressful, dude. Normally I sit here and take a good amount of time to soak in the information. Now we're just flying.
And I know you said you thought your tactic was fine, and to be fair, if it got you promoted, then of course it works, it's good. However, I don't think it's the right sort of fit for the battle you're in. Clearly the tactic worked very well going forward and scoring you goals. This season, because you are in such a tight battle at the bottom, it's all about survival and getting yourself to stay in that top flight. So what you need to do is probably change the tactic a little bit. Now, not massively. And personally, what I would do in this situation is actually go through and use one of the default tactics in the game. How has this gone so quick? These 2 minutes are tough, but just to wrap up my point, essentially, the game. On to the next one. So this one comes from Der Dolphin, who is currently managing Fortuna Dusseldorf. And he says that he's managed to get promoted to the Bundesliga in his first season and managed to get mid-table in his second. Not bad going, mate.
I've built my squad around 4-1-2-1-2 that I liked playing in the first season, but it doesn't give me a lot of playing room in my tactics.
Good. No wingers. I like it. And my tactic has stopped working almost entirely. Oh, no.
I hate when that happens. I'm in my tactic problems. My team has come on terrible form and is facing relegation with just a few games to go.
My scouting systems spits out some good players. I've already signed a Wunderkeeper next season,
but can't do so in a good scale or consistency.
Right. Let's try and sort this out. 2 minutes on the clock. Let's go. So my first point of advice is to go towards the scouting and do some manual scouting, which I love doing in Football Manager. So what I've got here is a list of strikers interested in a transfer to the club, and I've sorted it by valuation. Because for me, if a player is valued very highly, then they're probably pretty decent. So generally what I tend to do is if I've not got the player scouted out, I'll just go through and I will go through and just literally click on all of them that haven't been scouted out, and I'm just going to report. Get a quick report, please, scouts.
I'm a little concerned that your second season, you're kind of regressing a little bit, but let's see if this is kind of an offense or a defense thing. The best way to do that is just raw goals for, goals against. And you have allowed 58 goals, which is the second most in the league, but you've scored 36. So let's take a look at the XG table, which you've got starred, so you're a man of culture. And you are minus 9 points on the XG table, so you are clearly getting screwed a little bit. But this is just, you're right, it's a tough tactic to adapt out of because you likely have no wing players that you're entirely comfortable with.
Personally, I think it's a little bit too passive. There's only 2 players on attacking duty, and they're both the strikers right now. Everyone else is on defensive or supportive roles, and I think could do a little bit better with that, particularly with their CDM here. Again, I'm a big fan of a halfback, so I'd maybe bring a halfback in there, which maybe then allows you to get fullbacks on attack instead. The difference essentially between fullbacks and wingbacks, at least in my opinion, is the fullbacks just start further back, whereas wingbacks start higher up. So they both. I'm running a minute on that. They both do the same.
Something that you might want to explore is taking counter press off. I found that drags my defense horribly out of position. Obviously, it's not something we've experimented on entirely, but it is something that I noticed took off and did better. I also think that having a lower defensive line and step up more at the same time are definitely counterintuitive. I also think that pressing out of a mid block and lower defensive line with this intensity is dragging you way out of position so that you're very easy easier to break down, and that can definitely be causing some problems. This is also probably causing too many red cards. My main concern, though, is that you are going with a very intense tactic when it comes to the ability of your own players. Dribble less, be more expressive, play out of defense at a lower tempo. This is reliant heavily on the intelligence, the creativity of your players to be able to handle playing in this division. I'll be honest, when you have guys like Mikhail Karbovnik, he's a good player, but he's not someone that is going to be smarter or more technical than the players he's playing against. I think you were able to get out of the second division because you were in a league where you were more dominant technically. I think you might need to think about being more direct. Hot diggity dog. I need like a corner man back here. All right, last one, bring it up. Scott H14 at AC Siena. Managed to get my Siena side promoted from Serie C to Serie B in my first season.
He spent a few years in Serie B before finally winning promotion to the promised land, Serie A. That's my best Angel voice, by the way. You know, like, I'm lifting the Serie A. I have no idea.
This is all good in theory, but unfortunately my side is in a really bad way. With next to no wage and transfer budget, I struggled to put together a competitive side.
And I'm ailing down the bottom of the league now in the January transfer window. I'm shipping a lot of goals and I've tried a couple of different tactics, sadly to no avail.
Looking for any sort of help or tips to at least not finish with single-digit points in the league. That is a pretty desperate call for help.
Oh, that is tough.
Let's load in.
All right, 2 minutes on the clock. Let's go.
Great news is you're actually only 4 points out of staying alive. The bottom of Serie A looks like it's going absolutely horribly for everybody. The bad news is your goal difference looks terrible. You've allowed 56 goals, and the next closest team has allowed 42. So I think it is very clear that your defense is spectacularly bad. Let's look at the XG table just to make sure. Maybe I'm wasting a little too much time on that, but you are actually not supposed to be last, which is amazing.
So my first thought is you need to be a lot more counter-attacking with this formation, because right now I'm seeing a tactic that's not really doing a whole lot, if I'm honest with you. Now, obviously, the 4-4-2 as a tactical shape is wonderful. As a Brit, I can testify for that.
4-4-2.
However, there are ways we can make this a little bit better for us. I think potentially dropping our 2 centre mids back into the CDM role, and maybe making them segundo volantes on support, and maybe one on attack as well, might be a good option, because these guys are going to be a bit more creative and get forward a little bit, but also get back. They're essentially like box-to-box midfielders. That's how I think of a segundo volante, which I hope is right, because I've been saying that for years.
Okay, let's take a look at the tactic, and you've got a 4-4-2 going, mid blocks. Don't do that. That should be off immediately. Overlaps on the left and the right. That means your team's going to wait for those guys to go up. So I'm guessing that you usually just get abused outside in. You have somebody get down the side. Your center back goes off or tries to cover them, and then you just get outnumbered with runners coming into the middle of the park. That would totally make sense based off what I'm seeing.
I actually really like the wide midfielder on the left-hand side. They are pretty powerful, actually. They're underutilized in the game. Inverted winger makes more sense for this player, because I think he's obviously got a left foot as opposed to a right foot, so that's fine. I'd probably go for fullback on support, though. Probably what I'd do is just go to 2 centre-backs on defend. Let's be no nonsense here. Let's not try and pass out from the back. Let's just try and keep things chill. Because we're not using wing-backs, I'm going to get rid of the overlaps on the left and right. I don't think that's going to help the team out much at all. We'll go for a bit shorter. I'm going to put a minute on there. As for tactical instructions, I'm going to
Look at your squad, and ooh, that's why you're doing so poorly. What are your board expectations? Work within payroll budget, attempt to avoid relegation, work within payroll budget. Okay, how many loans do you have? No, nobody good. You've loaned in some guys that, according to the opinion of your person, are not actually that good. And if this guy's your superstar player, your team is largely devoid of talent. So I think what's very, very important for you in this January window is to scout and cultivate a list of loans. Right, you want to cultivate a list of potential loanees, and then on deadline day, you have the opportunity to go get them for free. Obviously, you can't get them for actual money. I also would sell a player. Maybe this guy. I might sell this guy. I'll be honest. That one was too fast for me. I might be in trouble on that.
So I think I went slightly over on every single one of those, but I hope it helped a little bit. Now, I'll get Zealand back in the room in a second, but I want to mess with him before we finish this video up. He's got a lovely of shirts behind us, and I want to move some around and hope that he doesn't notice. Let's see what we can do. I feel if I swap the red shirts, he won't notice that, because they're the same color, right? It's not like I'm swapping the blue and the red, because that's noticeable. Shout out to Dr. Benji in this one as well, by the way. Right, no one say a word.
This is great banter. It really is.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you enjoy the fact that I now look a lot shorter because we had to move the desk up for see you in another Save Your Saves. Subscribe to his stuff. It's good. Not as good as this stuff.
I can't believe that. What's that about?
Bye.